Alright, welcome back. Today we're tackling chapter 3, and this chapter's a little bit of a boring one, hate to say it, but it's pretty simple. So if you have something you'd rather do while you listen to this in the background, this would be the video for it, because past this initial section of combat there isn't going to be a whole lot of in-depth stuff going on. This beginning part is a little bit interesting though, because we still don't have any deployment options. Our units just spawn where they spawn and we can't choose where to put them. And most of the units that are spawned closest to the enemies are units that can't fight, don't have any weapons, and I'm not allowed to use. So it was a little bit tricky to move them in such a way that I had the people I wanted at the front lines and everyone else away. But after this first turn, I pretty much figured it out. So these are soldiers, and typically in Fire Emblem, soldiers are weak as hell. They're the fodder enemies basically, and that's still somewhat true in this game, in this hard mode. But because it is hard mode, they have significantly higher HP, and they also do quite a lot of damage as well. They don't double, but they do a lot of damage in one hit if they hit. So I can't actually just immediately put all my units forward, which is what I would like to do, and in any other game probably would be able to do. But if I did that here, then one of my units would get ganged up on and probably die, even though there's only 2 soldiers right here. So you see they're doing 8 damage even to Marcus. And Marcus probably has the most defense of any of my units at this point, except for Boars. So if they're doing 8 damage to Marcus, they're definitely going to be doing a lot of damage to anyone else if they hit. And of course this is FE6, so they will probably hit when you don't want them to. So you see there on the left, I'm sending Boars up on his own, up that a left route to the house at the top, because at the top of the house, as you see right here, is a recruitable character. He's not one of the characters I'm going to be using, but I decided to recruit him anyway because he comes with a vulnerary and a fire tome, and you never know when you'll need either of those. You know, it's free stuff basically. The only thing I have to do is walk up there and take it, so I figured why not. Vulneraries are going to be useful for a while still to go, and a fire tome, while they're cheap, if I don't have to buy one, you know, saves me a little bit of cash in the long run. Here we have Wolt being a champ. Wolt actually gets really lucky this map in terms of dodges. I'm not going to say he's a reliable unit because that would be lying to you, but he's done well here in particular. I mean, I guess he's also on a bush right now, but later as well. He does some good dodging. Dodge tank confirmed. So this is probably a little bit stupid to do with Wade, because if he missed and got hit by that soldier, he would almost certainly die the next round. But in hard mode, you're gonna have to take some risks, and that's a really good level up actually. Strength and speed with some other stats. Really, really good. Lance as well. If I leave him here, he's in range of 3 enemies, and with 22 HP there's almost no chance he lives all 3, so with the archer as well. I'm basically counting on either dodges or the soldiers aiming at some different people instead of all ganging up on Lance. So here I'm just checking to make sure that all my non-playable units have empty inventories. I'm dumping basically everything into Milina's so that they can't use it, except for Ellen, as you see there. So I'm not going to be doing any direct healing with Ellen because she's not one of my usable units, but I figured that it wouldn't be going against the rules too badly if I let her carry some vulneraries for me. So I'm going to have her do that. I guess you could call her sort of a pseudo healer, because she's not going to be using a staff or anything, but she's going to be healing our allies by giving them vulneraries when they need it, at least for a little while. So yeah, I'm lucky that that soldier went for Ward instead of Lance, because if he went for Lance, then Lance would probably be dead right now. And you see just how quickly these guys wear down my units. They're just soldiers, they're just fodder units, but they still do so much damage. And here we have Boars being a great tank. He doubles these guys, doesn't take that much damage from them. He can basically just ignore them and keep walking up. So yeah, a bit of a precarious situation right here. There's a lot of soldiers around my units and quite a few of them are pretty weak. I decided to make the easy choice first and move Boars because there's nothing that can really go wrong for Boars right now. But here I really have to take out some of these guys. You see, they have 32 HP. They're not weak by any stretch. They get doubled, sure. But even then, you see, an Iron Axe wouldn't kill him. They're still quite strong. Here I'm lucky that Marcus can kill this archer, because I really don't want that chip damage adding up. Here I can get a one-hit KO with Ward, so I decide to do that. It's less risky. And with Lance, I basically have to just retreat a little bit after this soldier goes down. Which he won't, thanks to Wolt. Yeah, I don't think this soldier dies in this turn actually. I do have to just retreat with Lance, because he desperately needs healing. After one turn, one enemy phase of being in combat, Lance is basically unusable, which is unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate. Here I'm just fumbling over distances that units can travel. Apologies for that. I'd rather be sure that I'm not in range, or I am in range where I want to be, than rush ahead and get killed by something I didn't notice. A little bit of exposition there. So basically the boss is revealed now and he's just an armor knight. Not too difficult to take down at this point. So yeah, that was a really unfortunate miss, and Ward was about to die here. Luckily we dodged that one. But yeah, that other soldier being at full health is really quite unfortunate. Don't like it at all. They are surprisingly bulky for being the fodder units of the franchise. But I suppose if you're gonna make them good in any way, shape or form, that's how you do it. Just make them annoying. So here I decided to take out this guy with an Iron Lance instead of a Javelin, because I realised that that archer can only do 1 damage to me anyway, so it would take him 9 turns worth of hitting me to actually kill me. So he's not scary at all, in other words. Getting some use out of Roy here. Strength, luck, defense. My Roy's actually surprisingly bulky on the physical side in all ways except HP. His HP is still very low, but he has a surprising amount of defense, which is pretty good. I don't know how much it's going to serve him, but pretty useful nonetheless. And here I have to take out this guy with Marcus. I could maybe have tried to get some damage in with the ward, but he would die if he got hit, and that's like a 50% hit rate. So I don't trust that at all. Don't really know why I did that there. I could have just moved up with Lance and drunk a vulnerary, moved up with Ellen and Drunken Vulnerary, but I'm a bit dumb, it seems. So here I'm sending Alan to the right, because there's a village to the right that has a men's staff in it, and I do want the men's staff for Saul when I get him in a few chapters time. I miscalculated and I didn't notice this guy was in range of boars, but it's boars, so he wasn't in any danger at all. If anything, it's probably a nice thing that we lured that guy, so now I know he has a javelin, and he's a bit closer, so he's easier to deal with. So yeah, here I decide to just move up with boars and equip a javelin, because as I said, it would take this guy 9 turns worth of combat to kill me, so I don't really need to dedicate any time specifically to fighting him as long as he's dead before I get the village and recruit Lou. Here, Marcus is pretty much the only unit I have that can really move forward. He's the only one that has enough defense to last multiple rounds of combat against all these soldiers, which is really quite pathetic when I say it out loud. But such is life in FE6 hard mode. You gotta do what you gotta do, and what I gotta do is just leave Marcus in range, and only Marcus in range, because if anyone else goes up there, they're gonna die. So here Wolt and Roy get their C support, I think that is. I don't actually know what their support bonus does, but I have been trying to build it just in case it gives, you know, any hit or avoid or anything like that, anything useful that I can use. I may as well, if they're both going to be force deployed. I may as well try to make them better in any way I can. So yeah, these guys do 9 damage to Marcus, which is just insane for this point in the game. This is chapter 3. And they already do so much damage to our Jagan. Ridiculous. Sorry about that. A little bit ill at the moment. Just a little bit short of reaching this house with bulls this turn. Armor Knight movement will do that to you. But that's fine, it's not like we're in a rush, it's pretty much the only thing he'll actually accomplish this map, so I don't really need him anywhere else. Got the men's stuff with Alan there, that's his job done, he won't do anything else for the rest of the map. This is the part of the map where you can pretty much begin to tune out if you want to. It's just going to be a few waves of cavalry and soldiers coming down and getting killed by our units. Strength there on ward, which is fine. Strength is important. So you see there, they do so much damage. 9 to Lance. It'd be impossible to leave him in range there. So here I was just debating whether or not I should actually try that, because obviously Wolt could not take 2 of those. Luckily he dodges. This is what I was talking about earlier, with Wolt being a little bit of a dodge tank. So it's a perfect setup here for Lance to get a kill, except he doesn't want to immediately get the kill. He wants to make me nervous a little bit. Luckily he dodges the hit and gets the kill eventually. But you did need to do that, Lance, and pathetic level up, HP luck. I always feel a little bit bad when my units get luck as a level up, because it's pretty much the unluckiest level up you could get. I feel like the game is taunting me. It knows how bad that level up is, but what can you do? I mean, hey, I guess it means he's less susceptible to getting crit? I don't know. So Boaz has actually been doing really well over here. He hasn't missed a single javelin, I don't think, even though he only has less than a 50% hit rate. So really impressive. I know Boars is a bad unit, and Armor Knights in general are bad units, but I won't lie, he's been putting in a lot of work for me. I guess it's because when you only have a few units to utilize, you have to play slower, and that's where Armor Knights really shine. Slow playstyles. And here I didn't notice this Cavalier had a javelin, so luckily his hit rate wasn't very high. Lance will live for another day. And here I just equip an Iron Lance just in case there's reinforcements. I knew there wasn't any from that direction at least, but, you know, better safe than sorry. Habit, I guess. And there's Lou, or in other words, there's our free Fire Tome and Vulnerary, because that's all he will contribute for the rest of the playthrough. Here I'm debating over which one of these to kill with Wolt. I figured one shot at that hit rate is better than needing 2 shots. And luckily he hits. Wolt level up. HP, speed, luck, death. Pretty damn decent in all honesty, and he needs as much speed as possible. I don't know if he'll ever double consistently. Probably not, but I'll take anything I can get. Another kill for Roy. Roy's been a surprisingly decent unit as well. He's not exactly tanky, but neither are any of my units. And here I have to use the Silver Lance to kill this guy, because my only other options for killing him would be Lance or Ward. Ward would never be able to hit him, and Lance doesn't have enough health to take that javelin, so I really needed to get that guy out of the way so I could leave Lance to heal and Ward out of range. And Wolt happens to be in the perfect spot as well to not get meleeed. Here I'm just doing some pseudo healing, packing all the vulneraries onto actual units instead of Ellen, so I can send Ellen away as soon as possible. Here's some more Cavalier reinforcements. There's going to be a few waves of those. I don't know if that was the second last wave. I think it was the second last wave, so there's one more after them, I believe. We've already dealt with quite a few though. They're not terribly difficult to take down, honestly. The most annoying aspect of them is their range. They move so far and one of them has a javelin. So it's really difficult to position myself in such a way that my units are safe from getting hit multiple times. Which means I basically just have to advance with Marcus, who's my only unit that can take multiple hits, and have the rest of my units as backup to clean up after Marcus engages in a round of combat. I have to make sure I conserve the Silver Lance as much as possible, because it will be necessary, I imagine, for future chapters, since there's going to be some really bulky enemies soon, and none of the units I have right now are capable of doing all that much damage. The only unit I have that has a good damage output at this point in the game is Ward, and Ward's hit rates are awful, so he's not reliable. And here we have all of the vulneraries being dumped off. I do actually move Boars all the way down. I keep moving him. I don't believe I end up using him for the rest of the chapter, but I figured, you know, as long as we can, we may as well move him. Takes a little bit of extra time, sure, but you know, why not? Maybe we'll be playing slow enough for him to catch up. Eventually he does catch up, but I don't think he actually does anything. So Marcus putting in work with the Slim Lance. I really need to get him another Iron Lance, but I suppose he's setting up kills for other units, which is nice. More dodges from Wolt. He's doing really well at that. If only he could actually do some damage in return as well, then he'd be a decent unit. But unfortunately, you know, 3 damage is not exactly a whole lot. Doesn't exactly accomplish a whole lot. I won't say it's useless, because every bit of damage helps. but really, if you're not doubling and you're only doing 3 damage, there's only so useful you can be. So here I'm debating over whether or not to try this. It would kill him in 1 hit if it landed, and it didn't, but I didn't get hit either, and I was safe there. I wasn't getting doubled, and I still had Marcus available, so if things really went the worst they possibly could, then I could have rescued Ward out of there. But I can kill this guy with Marcus anyway, so not a huge loss. We're about halfway through the map at this point, a little bit more than halfway I'd say. There's not a whole lot of challenge left to this map, it's just getting through the waves of cavaliers. It's the reason why I can't progress as quickly as I'd like to, because if they swarm my units, and they very easily can swarm my units, then they're gonna do way too much damage. I just can't keep up with all the damage they do. So I have to move slowly. Here I've got Melinas moving up, so Melinas is going to trade places with Ellen basically and become the next pseudo healer. And Bors is going to slowly make his way down. So here I get the lowest amount of damage you can possibly get with a crit in the entire game, 3 damage. So that's incredibly useful. Well done, Marcus. Good use of a 9% crit right there. Again, not gonna say it was useless, but it was kinda useless. Because here we're gonna have Ward use the hammer. An item I said was completely worthless a little while ago, last chapter I believe. But here it gets some use, and I think without that crit, it wouldn't have 1 hit. So maybe it wasn't so useless. Unless I'm doing math wrong, which is entirely possible. Here I'm deciding to engage with Lance, because this guy does pretty pitiful damage. I just assumed that Lance would be able to live, even if all 3 of them hit him. Probably not true, but you know. Trading off the hammer now, putting on a hand axe, because I know there's a javelin guy around here. This is the javelin guy, in fact. And setting up that kill for someone else, ideally. I really can't move forward as much with Roy as I'd like to because of those javelins. Swords are weak in particular in these games, in the GBA games that is, because there's no 2-range alternatives except for the Runesword, which is only available once, doesn't have that many uses, and is not particularly good in this game. Well, it is good, but it's got a weird bug to it where it only does 10 damage all the time. Doesn't matter how much defense or res the enemy has or how much strength you have, it does 10 damage. So it's got some application, definitely, but it's not exactly a reliable weapon. And again, you only get 1 of them, so anyone who can equip a hand axe or a javelin is infinitely better for taking on enemy phase in that context. Here I try to get some damage in with Ward, but of course because he's using an axe it doesn't hit. Axes really got shafted in this game. It's quite jarring coming from a game like FE7 where axes are incredibly good and hand axes basically run the whole game, to this game where axes are incredibly unreliable. If it wasn't for the fact that they do really solid damage, they would be a pretty pathetic weapon type. And here Wolt actually gets a kill with 3 damage. Impressive, gotta say, very impressive. And we get to corner this guy with a javelin, so the only people he can attack are the ones next to him in melee range, or Wolt, who has a bow and can retaliate. I'm not going to pretend like I planned that, but it's useful nonetheless. Oh, Ward has a hand axe as well, so Ward can retaliate. I don't really know why I'm moving Ellen here. I guess I'm just moving her back to this clump, and I also don't know why I initiated that conversation between Chad and Lou, because I will be using neither of them. I guess it's just something I do. So here Wolt gets hit for the first time in the map. Disappointing, Wolt. Thought you were going to carry that dodge streak to the end, but I guess not. So here I realise that I have a one-tile choke point that I can just put Marcus in and have the rest of my units be safe. So that's useful. I get a kill with Wade, Ward, whatever. Solid. Give him a hand axe so that he can retaliate. And this is where we will sit until those two cavaliers are dead. I believe those are the last two cavalier reinforcements. So here I'm just looking at Wolt's stats. Still pretty pathetic. Pretty pathetic. 4 strength. That's... wow, yeah. But hey, look, we'll make the best of him. We're stuck with him, so we'll make him work. So this is pretty much the ending portion of the map. You'll notice there's not a whole lot of time left in the video either. Because there really is just this final bit here. You'll notice that there's chests down to the sort of middle right, guarded by 2 armor knights, and one of them has a poleaxe in it. I don't remember what the other one has, but I know that I wanted the poleaxe because the poleaxe would come in super handy next chapter. Unfortunately, I've not been given a thief to use. I definitely have not been given Chad, and since I've not had the opportunity to buy any chest keys so far, I will unfortunately not be able to get that poleaxe. I decided against using Chad even though he's force deployed, because that's sort of been the theme so far. When I began this playthrough, I figured that I may have to just use units that haven't been recommended to me, just because I wouldn't have any other choices. It might have been impossible to get through maps with what I've been given. But I've been given basically the entire starting crew, so I definitely have enough units to get through the maps. And so I decided to really only use the ones that I've been given to use, except for ferrying items and getting shops and stuff that doesn't really matter and I could do with any other unit. But since opening chests is very much a thief specific job, I decided that I wasn't going to do it. So that means I will have to be relying on chest keys and door keys for that matter to open every chest and every door that I need to open for the rest of the playthrough, which will be interesting. Nice little kill for Lance there, and a level up. HP strength. Strength is really good. His speed is already at a decent point, but he definitely needs strength. My original Lance from my first playthrough got a little bit strength screwed, I think. So it's good that he's getting an early start on that. Equipping an iron sword there because I just didn't want Marcus to take as much damage from that hand axe if it hit. The soldier is really a non-threat to Marcus, and he'll probably do the same amount of damage with the sword as he would with like the iron, not the iron, the slim lance. But the soldier doesn't go for Marcus anyway. It goes for who it can do the most damage to. Another level up for Ward. Luck Def. Def is good. He needs some defense. He has really surprisingly low defense. I guess the fighter archetype tends to have low defense, so it's good that he's getting some, and you know, luck is luck. It's fine. So here I'm just looking at what these guys have. I should have sent Ward down there with a hammer to get some experience from both of them. Even if I wasn't going to be able to open those chests or steal that vulnerary, I should have attempted to get some extra experience, but I realized too late. I send him down and I believe he gets 1 kill or he gets some damage on one of them, but I definitely realized too late that I could have done that, and here we're going to kill with Roy. Final stretch now, just 1 fighter left and the boss. And now that we have an armor slayer, the boss is not going to be all that difficult. Oh! There are more reinforcements. Who would have guessed? Well, I guess we're playing hard mode. Yes, 1 more wave of reinforcements because we're taking so long to get this chapter done. It's really unfortunate that I have to play this slowly. But what can you do? I mean, when these are my units, I have to play safely. Unfortunate, but I will, I'll do my best to speed up any sections that are incredibly tedious. I feel like even though this map has taken a long time to complete, it's not tedious per se. For example, I sped up the part of the first chapter where we were fighting the boss because it was just the same thing over and over again waiting for hits. But here I feel like enough different kinds of combat are happening that it doesn't really need to be sped up even if it's taking a while. Although in the future I'm aware there are some chapters that are going to take a long time to complete. So there'll probably be some more sped up parts in the future. I've accidentally made a bit of a mistake here with Roy, leaving him in range of that javelin cav, which I attempted to move him out of range of, but then realized that, hold on, they can move to exactly where Roy's standing and kill him. Well, actually, no, they can't kill him, so I didn't rescue him because I knew he couldn't die. But they'll still go for him, which means they're not going for someone else who could actually do damage, which is gonna mean that the map takes a little bit longer to complete. Unfortunately enough. But hey, we've already been doing this for 30 something minutes, so 1 more turn can't hurt all that much, right? Yeah, that defense is actually coming in handy with Roy. Even with weapon triangle advantage, that javelin is really not hurting him all that much. It would still take him another 2 turns to kill. Here I was considering getting some kills with Roy. I want to do damage with him, I really do. Probably not the wisest idea in the world, but it works out for me. I get some good damage in, and it means I can kill him now. With Wolt even. And Wolt needs all the kills he can get. With 4 strength, he really needs to be fed them. Speaking of 4 strength, he's not going to get any more of that. But some more defense. I guess having a tanky archer is okay. As far as I'm aware, there's not too many like javelin or hand axe enemies in the game, but I mean, hey, defense is good, I won't complain. So this is it. This is pretty much the last part of the map. It's just down to this last fighter and then the boss kill. This fighter's going to split Lance's head open, and he's going to shrug it off like a champ and get a 2% crit, because he wants this map to be over just as much as I do. So well done, Lance, that was impressive. Finally, here I realised that I can send Ward down and try to get some experience before the map is completely over, because Roy can't capture from where he is. But not gonna happen. So here I also just leave markers in range, because if he gets hit twice, he's dead. But if he hits twice, then he will kill the boss. But with those hit rates, I don't trust it. And of course, Wolt being Wolt does not do any damage to the boss. 4 strength will do that to you. I think the avoid bonus from a throne is like 3 anyway. So his effective strength would be 1 going against that boss. Yeah. so down goes the boss. Whoever he was, Slater. No one cares about Slater. Who is Slater? Weapon level up. Always good. And here, yeah, I'm just gonna get some final chip damage with Ward, just because I can. He is also a unit that really needs to be given experience wherever possible, because his hit rate is so bad. And here we will seize. So that's chapter 3. Thanks for watching.